government, by the Israeli people, for all that he has done so far to bring the hostages out, and, Lord willing, move us towards a peace process that will be real. We've got to keep praying. But that was like a split screen. That was the good side. The hard side was losing my mom. Now, as you saw last week, she loved Jesus. She loved my family, my dad, 60 years of marriage, right? So, and my sisters and me. So we have no regrets. She's in heaven. She is seeing all that we want to see one day. But the emotions of all that and of sadness and of loss, combined with the elation, the ecstatic sense of, oh my gosh, we are watching a miracle happen. It's been a lot to process, but we're glad to be back here in Israel. We're back in a different Israel, an Israel that's processing what's just happened and where are we going next. That's a great topic to discuss with my guest tonight. Todd Moorhead is the producer and the host of a really fascinating film about October 7th, bearing witness to the massacre that happened that day. There needed to be a film by a team of evangelical Christians to show not only what happened, and they use some footage that was previously classified, now is being allowed to be used publicly, but they also put it into context. Why did October 7th happen? Where did this all come from? And what they, well, let's just get into it with Todd Moorhead. He's here in Israel. He's got a tour, maybe your first, I would guess your first tour since October 7th.
It is.
So over these 2 years.
Canceled all my other ones. Yes, this is my first tour back here, and it's really good to be back.
It's great to have you, and it's great to see you. Look, this film is fantastic, and I talked to you on our Inside the Epicenter podcast about it. The reason I think it's so important is because you don't try to go tell the whole history of the Middle East. You don't try to talk about the war. You're just trying to help people understand what really happened that day. Yes, what led up to it, but you don't try to tell the last 2 years. You try to tell the story of that day, and you do it so well. Why did you? I want to talk to you about a lot of different things on this show, but why did you narrow yourself to just telling the story of October 7th?
Well, we knew we were right in the middle of actually creating a docuseries, and it was like 30-something days after the first episode came out, October 7th happened, and we knew that it was going to change the Jewish world, certainly, Israel certainly, and the world. And we also were well aware of Holocaust denial for over the years, and we knew that this event needed to be documented, and documented really well in the context in which it happened, and so that we could truly bear witness to the atrocities of that day.
I think you've done it so well.
Thank you.
And we're going to show a clip in the next block of the show after the commercial break, and we're going to show people where they can watch it. So we'll get into that. But your emotions, I'm just curious your take on just being back here in the land, and you got here as all the, hostages were being released, the President of the United States coming, not just here, but going to Egypt to try to move the peace process forward. So I'm just curious, Todd, you love this land, you love this region, and you love both sides, Israelis and Palestinians and other Arabs in the region. What's your, what are you thinking? What
I was
feeling?
Really, I was so blown away that the hostages were all released. I thought it would never happen. Everybody I listened to said it will never happen because that's Hamas's only leverage, and it happened. And when Israel started to celebrate, and I quickly realized and told my group we are going to a different Israel than what we anticipated, a much better Israel, Israel that has gone from 2 years of mourning and sadness to elation that 20 living hostages have been released. So just very excited to be back in the land.
It's a miracle. I mean, you just said that. I don't know anybody that had a level of confidence that the hostages would come out. And even Christians who we're praying. It's a little bit like praying for Peter to get out of prison. And when he knocks on the door,
you don't believe it.
You're telling the servant girl, hey, we're trying to have a prayer meeting because we're trying to pray for Peter to come out of prison. So just don't bother us right now. I mean, that's it's a kind of a funny concept, but we were praying, but it's hard to believe that these monsters would let these out. I think God forced them to release. I think he terrorized the terrorists to let everybody out. But it is an extraordinary set of events over the last few weeks.
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
What is your group? How are they processing? Have they been here before?
Well, no, it's a first time for every single one of them, so they don't know what to compare it to. Although, I did brief them about Israel, and the trip was really tentative all the way up until a couple months ago, and then it was go time.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. When we come back, I want to show you about a 3-minute clip from this movie, October 7th, a documentary film by Todd Moorhead and his team. Don't go away.
It's an extended trailer from the powerful and provocative documentary film that shows you what really happened on October 7th and explains why Hamas really launched its vicious invasion. Why should every pastor, every youth group leader, every Christian see this film and share it with others? How are audiences reacting to the film? And what questions are they asking? Find out when the Rosenberg Report continues on TBN right after the break.
Welcome back to the Rosenberg Report. We're talking tonight about an extraordinary film, a documentary film on October 7th about bearing witness to this horrific massacre. And there's been so much on social media and in the media by people who are like, it didn't really happen, it really wasn't so bad, it wasn't, it's all getting blown out of proportion. It would, the Israelis set it into motion on their own. Israel's just using it as an excuse to go commit genocide in Gaza. Like, there have been so many attacks against Israel as Israel has tried to defend itself against this horrific invasion by a genocidal, terrorist organization. The Hamas terrorist organization says in its 1988 charter, we intend to destroy Israel. So Todd Moorhead is the producer and the host of this film. Todd, what kind of reaction are you getting already? It just released, of course, I think October 3rd. But even in recent weeks, with all the attention on the release of the hostages and everything else, what kind of response are you getting?
Yeah, we've been screening it all over the nation, over the U.S., and the one reaction is, well, I didn't realize it was that bad. They, people, even people who had followed it, and they thought they were kind of connected to the story. Once they see the events of that day, they are chilled, for one, horrified, and it's like something that they didn't realize could actually happen.
Because most of the images people have gotten over the last 2 years on the news is the Israeli fighting against Gaza and the flattening of Gaza. I've been in Gaza during this war with the IDF for TBN and All Israel News, and it's an apocalyptic wasteland. It really is. There's a reason for that. Every home Hamas was using to attack. Every home had weapons, booby traps, missiles. It was just not just every home, every mosque, every school, every hospital. So Israel had to attack and destroy so much, and this is what's so tragic. But it is interesting, right? After 2 years, you're getting this reaction that, like, I didn't know. And that's the people who, I'm guessing the people who come and see it, when you show it, aren't hostile to Israel, but they don't know.
Right, they don't know. And those who, formerly were hostile or were really curious about what Israel's, are they committing genocide? They're hearing all these things. I think it's helped them put things into context, and it's helped because we give enough backstory to who Hamas is. They're radical, what radical Islam is.
Right.
What does Hamas believe? What are their ideologies? What do they teach their kids from infanthood? And then it begins to make sense. By the time you see the events of October 7th, you kind of have a file, folders to file.
Were great about this film. Aside from the timeliness of it, the first thing was that you do give context, and the film is actually not super fast paced. You kind of pace it in a way that I'm learning facts, I'm seeing these images, but you're taking me on a journey. You personally are sort of taking me. I want to go talk to this person. I want to go see this. I want to find out what, and so it allows you to absorb hard information. And you have time to do it. The film is, I think, an hour and 50. But the other thing that's great about it is you do give just enough actual GoPro footage and CCTV footage of what really happened. And yet, I have seen the 45-minute classified version several times, and I brought evangelical groups to the Israeli embassy and other places at the request of the Israeli government so that the evangelical influencers could see it. And that's much worse. And I think you found a way to give people a sense of how horrible it was without creating a snuff film or without creating something that you couldn't watch, at least with maybe older teenagers. I would encourage you be cautious as a parent or grandparent. See it first before you show it to anybody under 18. But it can be, I think.
Yeah. We have such a great team. Jesse Schlantz was the director and editor. He also did the Hope in the Holy Land film, which was released in 2021. And Justin Crone, who is a producer and creator with me. And together, I think we made a film that we tried to show what happened without showing all that happened, right?
But I think you show enough that, as you say, people are, I didn't realize this.
Yeah, you get the picture.
Let's take a moment and watch. We got almost a 3 minutes. It's sort of an extended trailer with a series of clips. Very important. Take a look.
Hamas, it's an Islamist jihadist movement that is not a national movement for the liberation of Palestine, but actually a religious movement that is seeking to establish an Islamic state in the Middle East and in the entire world.
We see messages calling for holy war against Israel.
Gaza, this is the weaponization of an entire urban landscape for the purpose of waging war.
That's the Gaza border. Most of the Hamas come here.
And those Hamas operatives are trying to break through that
fence and get to the kibbutzim and kill people. This border is not going to be penetrated.
October 7th, the nation woke up to a nightmare.
Exactly what Israel had promised Israelis would never happen to them, happened to them.
The events of October 7th, 2023 sent a shockwave across the world. But most people still don't have a clear picture of what happened, or why. I came here to see, to listen, and to share the stories of many who lived through the darkest day in Israel's history.
Wow. So you got a sense there of this film. 3 minutes doesn't, suffice. You really need to see this film in its entirety. If you're a pastor, if you're a youth pastor, if you're a Bible study leader, I would encourage you to watch it and then start thinking, what do I do with this film? Don't just watch it on your own. Figure out how to show it to others. But I think you need to see it first yourself. So that you can figure out what's appropriate, how do I tell the story, and how do I edify and not harm the people that you're ministering to. When we come back, more with the host and producer of this film, October 7th.
Coming up next on
Welcome back to the Rosenberg Report. I want to talk further with Todd Moorhead. He's the host and producer of this extraordinary film, must-see film, on October 7th, bearing witness to this massacre. And I want you to see it, and I hope you appreciated the clip a moment ago. But here's the thing. Before we continue the conversation with Todd, before we close the show, I want you to understand there's a lot happening in Israel right now. Hamas is murdering Palestinians that they consider, anybody who said anything positive about President Trump are being and they said it on social media or in the media, they're being hunted, they're being captured, they're being tortured, they're being murdered right now. So please, don't stop praying. Don't say, okay, well, the live hostages are out, this thing is done. No, it's not done. 53% of Gaza is in Israel's hand and is being secured, but 47% of Hamas, 47% of Gaza is still in the hands of bloodthirsty lunatics, terrorists, and they are now turning their ire, their horror, not on Israelis primarily, but on Palestinians. Look, Gaza has to be liberated. It has to be liberated, not from Israel, but from Hamas. And when you see this film, you'll understand what they did to Jews, but they're doing horrific atrocities to Palestinians in Gaza right now. Todd, thank you so much again for being on the Rosenberg Report. I'm so glad you're here in the land. You brought your first tour group in several years since before October 7th happened. First of all, how can people see this film? You've been showing it in screenings around the United States, but people can see it where?
It's streaming on all the major platforms, Apple TV, Amazon Prime Video. If you go to October7film.com, all the streaming platforms they're hyperlinked. Just go there, click on it. If you're a pastor or a community leader and you want to show it to your congregation, you go to host a screening and fill out some paperwork to give to us. It's super simple. And there's no screening fee. We just want people to watch it.
That's fantastic. We've got a delegation of youth pastors, evangelical youth pastors, coming from the United States here in a few weeks, and we've sent them a link at our purchase, but to make sure that everybody has seen it before they get here.
I would have given you a free one.
Well, that's very kind. I appreciate it. But look, this is important, and this is what I was saying earlier. The film is so important, and especially right now. But it's important that people don't just see it. It really is important that they share it and that they find. I think also people need to talk about it. How have these screenings been going? In other words, what's the role of not just seeing a film, but having an environment which you can process it with other people?
It's a great opportunity for pastors to screen it and then to do a short Q&A, because Christians have so many questions right now and they're not getting the answers they need. So, I screened it just a couple weeks ago, and people would come up to me and just in tears or, ask me a question about replacement theology. There's a lot of replacement theology stuff going on right now, and they're confused, and they need to be shepherded and God's heart for Israel and God's heart for the nations.
What are some of the questions that you're hearing again and again that come out of watching the film?
Oh, one question that we hear over and over again is kind of the one that the theory that the Israeli government did it on purpose and there was a stand down order across the board so that Hamas could come in and massacre these Israeli citizens, and then Israel would have the excuse to go commit genocide to the Palestinians.
That is horrifying thinking at every level.
It's come up every time I've showed it.
Is that right?
Yes.
And how do you answer it?
It's very logical. There was no stand down order. Some IDF were in certain kibbutz right away fighting. The first to be attacked was the base right next to Gaza. They were dead, and then it was a holiday, right? So 90% of the military is gone. So there's some very logical reasons.
Yeah, it is astonishing. I think and unfortunately, it does play into conspiracy thinking. Because it's still astonishing. No Israeli can understand how that border was so lightly defended on that day. But but sometimes there's incompetence. Sometimes there's bad decision making, and of course there was this whole view, which was true, that Israel was making peace with 4 of its major Arab partners in the Abraham Accords and was this close, right, to making peace with the Saudis. So there was a real sense that we're moving past terrorism into this whole new era. But there's also a reckoning that has to happen. There has to be a state inquiry here in Israel to say what really happened. But it wasn't that Israel was looking for an opportunity.
Right.
If Netanyahu wanted an opportunity to go into Gaza, Hamas had given them 15 years worth of opportunities. Netanyahu didn't want to go into Gaza. He was doing everything he could to bomb here and there, but not invade, because he thought that was a distraction from dealing with Iran and Hezbollah, which he really believed were the larger fish to fry, as he called it. And he wasn't wrong. He just let himself get blindsided by an attack he didn't see coming. Well, Todd, thank you. You documented this so well, and I think it's so important for Christians to see it, your film, and to process it, and to find ways to have this discussion and show it to others. So we're praying for you. And again, where can people go see it?
October7film.com.
Okay. And on
all streaming platforms. Yep. Worldwide.
Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope that you will watch October 7th, bearing witness to the massacre that happened that day. Those of us that were here, we saw it, we've lived it, but those of you in the United States or Canada or all over the world where you're watching the Rosenberg Report, this is a tool, and you've needed a tool. And there's some great books, and I've had the authors of these books on this program, but having a film that puts October 7th in its context and then shows you some of the horror that really happened, this is a critical tool. It's an essential tool. And what Todd and Justin and their team have done is give us something right at this moment, when the good news is the war seems to be winding down. We pray, we hope. But the explosion of confusion and anti-Israel, anti-Semitic thinking and teaching and speaking on social media and elsewhere is getting worse and worse and worse. And this film is a tool that we can use to help counter the lies. Well, that's our show this week. Thank you so much for watching. Pray. Continue to pray for Israelis and Palestinians for healing. We need supernatural healing, for God to do something extraordinary. He is setting the captives free, but now both nations are struggling. Both peoples are struggling with the aftermath of this war, and it's going to scar us and change us forever. And we need the power of the Holy Spirit to come and heal. Please keep praying that all the bodies of Israeli hostages that were murdered by Hamas will be released and sent back home to Israel as well. And please keep praying for President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu and the leadership here, because there are so many critical decisions yet to be made. We're trying to get to calm. We're trying to get to quiet. And then we want to see the Abraham Accords expanded dramatically, supernaturally. But right now, we're going to take one day at a time. Again, thank you so much for watching. May you and your family have a great week as you walk in the power of the Holy Spirit, as you spend time in God's Word, as you spend time with God's people.